Hi, I'm Danny Ryan, VP of Marketing at Threewell, and this is episode 160 of the Two Ball Brothers on a Microphone podcast, where we talk about the people, process, and technology to work together better inside of enterprises. This episode was recorded on May 31st, 2018. In this episode, Tommy and I follow up on our conversation about multiple inboxes and Office 365 and dive into the topic of task management. We give our take on the current offering of Outlook tasks, Microsoft Todo, Microsoft Planner, and Wunderlist. Join us as we try to sort through the offerings and make sense of it all. Enjoy this episode, and thanks for listening. Hello, and welcome to the Two Ball Brothers on a Microphone podcast. These are the Two Ball Brothers. We're both here.
We're here.
Excellent. We're
both here, both bald.
Let me get started with happy 50th birthday.
Thank you.
How's
50
it
plus
being,
one.
50. You're 50 plus one. Half a century.
Yes.
How's that feel?
It doesn't feel as old as I guess it should feel. So actually it feels good. Yeah.
You take really good care of yourself, and that matters a lot.
I try. Yeah.
So I think in a lot of ways you just the way that you eat and exercise out in the garden, and you're young at heart.
Yeah, trying to get more years out of the parts here.
Your body's been through such hell.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up from all the crap I had early on.
Yeah, so I wanted to sit down. This was a topic that I have no idea. We're both pretty passionate about this, and talk about it. And maybe like the last time that we got together when we were talking about inboxes, is talk a little bit about task management. And let me try to set this up. So I've been talking to Pete and to Bruce and a lot of the other folks here about the 3 C's, which is communication, collaboration, and coordination. And we have been talking to those 3 C's with regards to how people work. And I think last time we talked was more about the communication piece, is reaching out to other people and communicating information, and how do we do that? What are the different ways in which we do that, and letting people know what's going on. And then there's the collaboration piece where you're working together on things. And I think if we're sort of focusing in on Office 365, it's some of the things like, you and I are working on a document together and you're making comments, and we're able to, like right now, Pete and I are working on an Excel spreadsheet together, and he's working on certain sections of it. And so we're collaborating together on a structured piece of information. And the last piece of it is coordination. And that's really, how we, framing out the work that we're doing together. And I think along with that is how are we prioritizing that work, and how are we sort of setting forth the goals of what needs to get done. And I think one of my overarching frustration with the overall tool set within Office 365, and I've written a couple blog posts about this, was really excited when they bought Wunderlist, because it was I think it was a great acquisition. But then the frustration around what's happened with Todo, and now you've got Planner, and sort of the 2 products that were put out there, and the lack of progress that's made with Todo. I think there was an announcement this week that they've got somebody leading it up, so it seems like it might be getting some momentum. But I ended up taking in one of my blog posts sort of what all the features were in Wunderlist, and comparing them out there to a sort of where to Planner and Todo are, and doing it over a series of time. And I need to update that, but it just seems like it's not. I don't know if it's converging to a solution, and so trying to deal with this whole problem of prioritizing tasks. We always talk about quadrant 2,
right?
And really making sure we're at least spending some of the day on some of those deep thoughts sometimes. And I could just talk here forever if you want me to. You're looking at, you give me this look like,
I feel like all my quadrant 2s before I get to work. I get to work, it's all quadrant 1. I would love some more quadrant 2.
You know what they are, but you just never can get to them because you're always in the firefighting of quadrant 1.
Yeah. Working on it. Let's say that.
So I know we have. Let me see if I can continue to frame this up. So you have sort of your own personal task management stuff, which Wunderlist was really good for. So grocery list, shopping list, things that Amy loved working
Linda
with
loved
Wunderlist,
it too. Yeah.
And
she still
wants it back.
Yes.
So I switched Amy over to Todoist because I thought Wunderlist had it's just basically going to start falling apart.
Yeah.
And then it's still working, and it's got a better set of features than To-Do does right now. So I'm sort of kicking myself in the foot for even moving off of it. But you learn. You just learn and adapt as you go along. So there's part of me where I'm like, okay, I'm using Todoist for my personal tasks, and that's fine. And I could use Wunderlist as well. But then with regards to work, you have a lot of the, what am I working on personally? And I use, I think we're both sort of, as we prepare for this, we both sort of have different ways that we cope with what do I need to get done as an individual. And like I often use a lot of my inbox where I'll flag things. I often will take something and make a big rock out of it. So I'll take something I know I need to do and create a calendar event out of it to put it onto the calendar.
Yeah, I've done that too.
It sounds like you also and we got into this a little bit last time, you use the read unread for managing, I need to get something done. So if somebody mentions you inside of Teams.
Yeah, and the activity tab within Teams.
Yeah.
If someone's mentioned me, I will keep it unread until I've acted on it.
Mm-hmm. So for getting things done yourself and within, let's just say that you've got your own stuff that you need to do. The next sort of level is the, we've got to get things done together. And the whole make and keep commitments thing. And I think there's just something that's been weighing on me is sort of like how we as an organization, and even how our larger organizations doing this, coordinating, getting multiple tasks done together that might have subtasks, that have things that, they're relying on other people to do. And it seems like we're pretty seat of the pants. I know the
for client work, it's Visual Studio Team Services.
For client work, yeah, absolutely.
Using kind of the agile product backlog management and task management.
Yep. So that seems like for projects, that's great. They've got a way to solve that. They're assigning things to each other and very structured on projects. Outside of projects, I've been playing a little bit with Planner, and for a lot of the marketing things, I've got a couple of plans that are set out there. One's for the blog, one's for podcasts, one's for the website, and then I've got one that's sort of a catch-all, and I've narrowed it down to those. And I'm just trying to queue up like ideas that I have, like, it wouldn't be great if we had a blog post on this, and starting to put some things out there that are ideas that are sitting out there. And then if somebody comes to me and says, what do you want for a blog post? I can go there and see it and then assign it to them and start doing some things like that. But I feel like I'm doing that, but I don't know if I don't get the sense that others, I'm not sure. I know they're getting email notifications, but I'm not sure if is that the way we're going to coordinate together? Is that the way we, sort of, if I assign something to you, then you're going to get it done? Or how do we get to more of a coordination type of thing, where we're able to work together better? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the challenge is the number of areas to manage to-dos. Yeah. And they kind of have their pros being closer to where you get work done. Mm-hmm. So I do have a lot of to-do management that's inside of conversations and teams, because that's where a lot of my coordination takes place, where I'm swarming around an SOW that usually a client wants that yesterday by the time all the decisions are made to pull that together. So it's very top of mind, and it's very back and forth with mentioning of, I've got it, I've gone through it, okay, your turn. And it's kind of some very ad hoc workflow through at mentioning as you go through it, and people liking things to say, I've seen that, or I'm good with that. You know, I don't need to make a comment, but I liked it. So it's very kind of social, you know, type of task flow. You look at things like a CRM tool, you know, with like Salesforce, is you want information that is contextual to that data.
Yeah.
So if you have it in emails, you know, either, you know, email into Salesforce, and then you have to attach it to that opportunity if it doesn't get in there, right?
Yeah.
Or you go put it in yourself. So you know, okay, this is the next major to-do, and if I keep track of that and complete it, and as I progress, then it's a great knowledge transfer of, okay, what have we done? What are all the tasks and activity that happened around this item? So I see conversations inside of Teams where it's tied to the document, that I've got all the context of how did we get there? How can I play that back of, well, why did we pull this out? Oh, Bob mentioned this, and that's why we pulled it out. So it's a richer set of tasks that are not just write some text and check it off and prioritize it, kind of the traditional task management. It's more collaborative tasking. But I do think it is great for quadrant 1, but not so great for quadrant 2, because if I have something that's a long running task or something that maybe someone's not going to do within the next couple of minutes or hours, but it might be a week or so, holding on to that task in something like conversations in Teams is not very productive. I think it has to go into more of a traditional task management, like a To-Do, Wunderlist, Planner. And I think Planner probably has a lot of what you need. It's getting the workflow around, okay, am I bringing up my Planner hub, you know, in the morning and looking at my tasks there? You know, how often am I going in there? And it's good that Planner, if you put to-do dates, it pulls the person in to kind of notify.
Yep.
So I think that's key, because I think a lot of times you can easily stray off to something else, and you need a way to pull yourself back in. And like Teams will do that. If you're not in there in a conversation that mentioned you, you can adjust the time, but you know, it can be 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, that it sees, okay, you have not seen this, let me pull you in to let you know it's there. So, you know, I don't know if we want to have one tool. Will we ever get to that? I think it's utopian to think that we'll get to one tool. And I think we get excited when we see to-do start talking about, oh, it's the one place you can go for planner tasks, for Visual Studio team services tasks, for project plan and individual tasks and Outlook tasks. You think technology-wise you could do that. So I think it's frustrating to not see that progress, and you see that if To-Do was done the way they envision it, it could be a killer app. But it's not going to be, it's going to be, they're going to, I think the challenge is they're going to lose people's attention. You know, this is the time to act. Teams came out, I think, in a 1.0 version, top notch, where it had the critical mass to show the value of why would you do collaboration inside of Teams around documents. Why not just have email and go and send links to SharePoint? Teams is just a much richer way to do that. So if To-Do came out the gate with those connections to other To-Dos and be really that task aggregation at the personal level, I think it would have, you know, rampant adoption, because it's something that most people complain about. It's just yet another place to put tasks. I remember a while back, and we don't talk about this anymore because I don't think people do it anymore, is putting tasks inside of SharePoint. You know, you got a task list, and as a team, you know, that's where you could put that centralized task. I think some people use it, but it's kind of gone away because I think just the overwhelming number of places to put tasks, and it's going to the new shiny. You know, now it's Planner and Teams activity is, you know, where I think we're putting the most energy, and Planner, I've ebbed and flowed with that. I'm kind of out of the loop in Planner. Early on, I was doing our infrastructure management when we had a lot of infrastructure in house, and helped organize around that. We put all those tasks into Planner, and it worked. I think part of it is creating habits, and that I think about, if I want to have Planner to be in my workflow, for my daily stand up for sales. Maybe I put everything that I'm doing and plan to do there. So all I'm looking at is a view and on a board maybe that shows yesterday's tasks that are completed and today's planned tasks.
Right.
So off the top of my head, I don't know if I could do that without just manually moving it to a different swim lane. But, get into a habit, and because these tools are not going to, not going to get its potential without getting into a routine and picking your battles of, okay, we're going to go here. If we all go here, then it's going to be more valuable.
I remember when we were trying to use, we talked about sort of Salesforce and using that for activities and stuff like that. It seems like was that just too, how are you guys, so you have action plans, and then you have sort of like, what are the things that need to happen in an action plan, and how do you manage that information? And you're
I think that what's difficult about it, at least for me, and maybe not for some other people that are newer here from a sales standpoint, it's just the sheer number of hours in a day and the workload that you have, that you go down to the least common denominator. You get into survival mode. And so if these tools are not dead simple to work with, and kind of are forced into your flow of working, they're not going to be used, because you're going to make sure you're making and keeping commitments, and the organization takes time. At the end of the day, it takes time, but I think you have to realize that you're going to have more value out of your productivity in your day if you can take that time to get it into a tool and prioritize and stay on track of it. Because when I get into the busyness of trying to wrangle things down, there's always something that I'm missing. There's always something that, I forgot to progress that forward. And because I didn't have it front and center in front of me, I knew I had it. I when I stop and I think, and on my board, I actually have the bigger deals, or say, I need to get back with that client. And I did get an email, but I was in the middle of something else. So I wish I had a better answer, but I think it right now for me, it's a hybrid. It's, flagging things in email, activities inside of Teams, and then my to-do list, my personal to-do list. The stuff in Salesforce, I started doing stuff in there. It's like, it's just too much work. It's not as though it's got a really bad user interface. It's just too much. It's just too many steps to the point of capturing that, versus I'd rather just flag it and continue to watch my flags. It seems to work best for me. It's not pretty, but
I use a lot of flags myself, which is why I'd like to try to use, the ideal is just having one place to go. But maybe it could be that I think you can segment your personal, you can segment your personal stuff off.
Sure.
You can have the professional stuff, and you're hoping that there's an easy way to, for some way to have a place. I think the ideal is you can see everything that you need to work on in front of you, and to be able to take and say, this is more important than that. I'm going to focus in on this today. And I typically, what I'll do is I'll find 3 things that I know I need to get done to that day, and just, make sure I get those 3 things done.
Yeah, that's what I do, and things drop. I just say, I
got to get these 3 things done.
These are more important, and things are going to drop, and I just have to try to manage expectations about the ones that are going to drop.
Good. This was good. This was healthy conversation. This is good, healthy conversation. I think
good therapy, task management therapy.
Yeah, and I think we've got similar approaches to managing this. I hope my wish is that there was some better ways of managing this, but we'll see what things come along. And a part of it is I'm just also trying to apply some thought to how are we going about doing this internally. And I just, I'm amazed at within these large organizations, like, how do you sort of roll out an initiative when there's so many people involved, and coordinating that and making sure people know what they need to be focusing in on next. Just that at a macro level seems a bit dizzying, but I know it's sort of broken off into different teams, and those different teams go after different parts. So, but it's all good stuff. Appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Sure, definitely.
Happy day after your birthday. Here's to the next 50 years.
That's right. 50, 75, something like that.
Thanks everybody for listening, and have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.